मन में हो शुभ संकल्प तो जीवन में फिर दुख कैसा, जब अंतर में शुभ भावना तो दिल में सुख सावन जैसा। हार कर जो ना हारे, जीत उसी की होती है, घनघोर अंधेरे में भी जलती जगमग उसकी ज्योति है। जैसा देखोगे तुम वैसा बन जाओगे, जैसा चाहोगे तुम वैसा बन जाओगे। सूरज है तो है किरण, बादल है तो है पवन, प्राण है तो है तन मन, सात सुरों में है सरगम, जो धरती है तो है सागर, जल थल है तो है जीवन, जीवन है तो है भगवन। भगवान के संग समय सोचोगे तुम वैसा बन जाओगे, जैसा कर्म होगा वैसा फल पाओगे। श्रेष्ठ कर्म का आधार है, खुद का कर लो दर्शन, यही जीवन का सार है, यही जीवन का सार है। जैसा सोचोगे तुम वैसा बन जाओ।
A very good morning to you all. Namaste. Om Shanti. ब्रह्मा कुमारीज के स्पार्क विंग की सिल्वर जुबिली सेलिब्रेशन ईयर में नेशनल सर कॉन्फ्रेंस स्पिरिचुअलिटी इन रिसर्च कॉन्फ्रेंस में आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत, अभिनंदन। रोल ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी इन बिल्डिंग इनर रेजिलियंस एंड एक्सेलेंस। कहते हैं साइंस एंड स्पिरिचुअलिटी गो हैंड इन हैंड। साइंस एंड स्पिरिचुअलिटी आर द टू फेसेस ऑफ द सेम कॉइन। और जब हम बात करते हैं इनर रेजिलियंस, कहा जाता है the external world is manifestation of my inner state of mind। और इसी थीम को बेस बनाकर टू की फोकस एरियाज, इनर रेजिलियंस एंड एक्सेलेंस। तो अगर बाहर मुझे प्रॉब्लम्स नजर आ रही हैं तो कारण है कोई ना कोई वीकनेस इनसाइड मी, और वही हमारा थीम है। अगर हम चाहते हैं एक्सेलेंस इन द आउटर वर्ल्ड, a happier, peaceful life. हमें करना होगा an inward journey, a review internally, और देखना होगा how do we develop my own state of mind, the power inside me, the energy inside me, so I get transformed internally. और इसलिए क्योंकि I am more energized, my thoughts they get transformed. क्योंकि मेरे विचार thoughts बदल रहे हैं, तो मेरी वाचा, the way I speak, the way I interact, मेरे कर्म बदलने लगते हैं. And hence my relationships, they start transforming and I start to see a more happier, peaceful world, and it helps develop my excellence. और इसी को आधार मानते हुए inner resilience and excellence, ये 2 दिवसीय नेशनल सर कॉन्फ्रेंस, और इसके तहत कल हमने देखा कि अगर इनर रेजिलियंस को डेवलप करना है तो सबसे पहले मुझे अपने आप में बदलाव लाना होगा, चेंजिंग माय ओन सेल्फ. यह था टॉपिक कल सुबह के सेशन का, लीडिंग चेंज द स्पिरिचुअल अप्रोच, where we had our eminent researchers, Rajyogi, senior teachers and practitioners. और उसके बाद आफ्टरनून सेशन में हमने ये देखा कि किस प्रकार से बदलाव लाया जाए, उसके लिए some of the meditation practices. So meditation to excel performance, ये टॉपिक था कल दोपहर के सेशन का. और आज इस सिलसिले को आगे बढ़ाते हुए आज का टॉपिक है स्पिरिचुअलिटी टू डेवलप माय इनर रेजिलियंस. तो आज हम बात करेंगे व्हाट इज इनर रेजिलियंस, हाउ डू आई बिल्ड इट, व्हाट आर द टिप्स एंड टेक्निक्स, टूल्स एंड मेथडोलॉजीज टू डू दैट. और आज का सेशन 10 बजे से 12:30 बजे तक पहला सेशन, और उसके बाद हम फिर मिलेंगे दोपहर 4 बजे, और 4 बजे का टॉपिक होगा, हम आज देख रहे हैं क्राइसिस अराउंड मी, मेंटल, फिजिकल, साइकोलॉजिकल, फाइनेंशियल. तो हम इस बारे में बात करेंगे, एंशिएंट सॉल्यूशंस फॉर मॉडर्न क्राइसिस. तो ये है टॉपिक आज के दोपहर के सेशन का. और आज के सुबह के सेशन को आगे बढ़ाते हुए, तो आज का टॉपिक है स्पिरिचुअलिटी टू डेवलप इनर रेजिलियंस, और इसके अंतर्गत ये 5 pronged अप्रोच, 5 टॉपिक्स जो आज हम कवर करेंगे. सबसे पहले महत्वपूर्ण है स्लीप मैनेजमेंट. हम रात को जब सोते हैं तो हाउ डू आई ट्रांसफॉर्म इट इनटू अ पावरफुल एक्सपीरियंस, और इस बारे में सबसे पहले हम बात करेंगे स्लीप रिसर्च फाइंडिंग्स, और इसे प्रस्तुत करेंगे डॉक्टर P.N. रविंद्र, जो हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं, एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर, सेंटर फॉर कॉन्शियसनेस स्टडीज, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ न्यूरोफिजियोलॉजी, निमहांस, इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ नेशनल इंपॉर्टेंस, बेंगलुरु. सो ये होगा हमारा पहला टॉपिक, पहला सेशन. और उसके बाद अब हमने बात की स्लीप मैनेजमेंट, इंपॉर्टेंट इज हाउ डू वी इंप्लीमेंट दैट, राइट? सो हाउ डू वी प्रैक्टिस राजयोग मेडिटेशन. और इसी से हमारा दूसरा सेशन है इफेक्ट्स ऑफ राजयोग मेडिटेशन ऑन साइकोलॉजिकल एंड फंक्शनल आउटकम्स इन स्पाइनल कॉर्ड इंजुरी पेशेंट्स. और इसे प्रस्तुत कर रही हैं B.K. एकता चलागिरी, जो कि रिसर्च कोऑर्डिनेटर हैं और कोर ग्रुप मेंबर हैं SpARC, जो जुड़ रही हैं दिल्ली NCR से. और जब हम जान चुके हैं, हम सुन रहे हैं इफेक्ट्स ऑफ राजयोग मेडिटेशन, तो थोड़ा सा मेडिटेशन एक्सपीरियंस, 10 मिनट का मेडिटेशन एक्सपीरियंस टू एक्सपीरियंस पीस. और इस 10 मिनट के बाद एक क्विक बायो ब्रेक 5 मिनट का, और फिर से सिलसिले को आगे बढ़ाते हुए अब हम बात करेंगे हमारी कॉन्शियसनेस की. Quantum Consciousness, presented by Rinkesh कुरकुरे, जो कि यंग साइंटिस्ट अवॉर्डी है बाय GOI. और इसके बाद सम ऑफ द ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइजेस, और ये टॉपिक है ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइज एंड इट्स इम्पैक्ट ऑन ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम एंडाइसिस, जो कि प्रस्तुत करेंगे आदर्श ए, जो कि प्रोजेक्ट असिस्टेंट है MILE लैब IIS से जुड़ रहे हैं बैंगलोर से. और उसके बाद टॉकिंग अबाउट योगा, जो हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण टॉपिक है, योगा साइकोलॉजी, जो कि प्रेजेंट करेंगे डॉक्टर रामाजयम जी, साइंटिस्ट सी योगिक साइंस, सेंटर फॉर कॉन्शियसनेस स्टडीज, न्यूरो साइकोलॉजी, निम्हांस, जुड़ रहे हैं बैंगलोर से. तो इसी के साथ मैं स्वागत करती हूं अपने अतिथियों का, eminent scientists, researchers, speakers for today. So please welcome Dr. P.N. Ravindra, B.K. Ekta Chalageri, Rinkesh Kurkure, Adarsh A, Dr. Ramajayam G, and a warm welcome to you all. A big thank you for making your time and sparing your valuable time for us. बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन, बहुत बहुत स्वागत इस सेशन में जुड़ने के लिए. तो इसके साथ ही शुरुआत करते हैं हमारा फर्स्ट टॉपिक, स्लीप रिसर्च फाइंडिंग्स. और हमारे साथ हैं डॉक्टर P.N. रविंद्र, जो कि एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर हैं, सेंटर ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस स्टडीज, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ न्यूरोसाइकोलॉजी, निम्हांस, बेंगलुरु, कर्नाटका. एंड इसके पहले ये प्रोफेसर एंड हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइकोलॉजी एंड वाइस प्रिंसिपल, गड़क इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मेडिकल साइंसेस. और इसके पहले इन्होंने काम किया है एज ऑनरेबल डायरेक्टर स्वामी विवेकानंद स्टडीज, कर्नाटका यूनिवर्सिटी, धारवाड़. तो ये न्यूरो साइकोलॉजिस्ट हैं एंड स्पेशलाइज्ड ट्रेनिंग इन स्लीप एंड कॉग्निशन, pertaining to yoga meditation with neuroscience, with special focus in understanding neuroscientific aspects of meditation and its effect on sleep and cognition. So let's welcome Dr. P.N. Ravindra, जो कि MD and PhD हैं. Dr. P.N. Ravindra, over to you for sleep research findings. Dr. Ravindra.
Namaste. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, and I thank all the organizers, Mukulji, and all the people involved with Brahma Kumaris, and special thanks to my mentor, Dr. Bindu M. Kutti, who was there yesterday, and also my wonderful colleague, Dr. Ramjayam Ji, for giving me this opportunity. So I would like to share this slide.
Yes, visible now.
Visible?
Visible now. You can go into presentation mode, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to share some of our work that we did on how meditation can influence sleep, and how both the meditation and sleep can bring about a wonderful component of resilience in one's personality, and probably what could be the brain mechanism, that could be involved in this. So all of us, we know that we spend around at least one third of our life in sleep, and sleep is known to be one of the very essential functions from the medical perspective. Now, what do you mean by an essential function from the medical perspective is that if we have a deprivation of a function, that is going to lead to adverse consequences, including death. So that function is called as an essential function. So hunger is an essential function. You fast for a long period of time, ultimately that hunger can lead to death. Thirst can lead to that. Similarly, a sleep deprivation can lead to death. That's why sleep is also called as an essential function. It's very much essential. But as we know that today, because of change in our lifestyle, change in our say working pattern, change in our thought pattern, change in the philosophy of our life, not only it is influencing our wake behavior, because our wake behavior is also changing, it is also impacting on our sleep or the quality of sleep, or as a sleep, it in general. So now we would like to see that how actually this meditation practice, can influence our sleep. We know that see this practice of meditation is inherent fabric of our culture, and we can see from ancient times to modern times, where it is part and parcel of our daily life. But unfortunately, for some of the reasons, right, when we change the vision of our life or the aspects of our life, the meditation which was part of our lifestyle, right, it has gone down, and we have to revive, right, this particular culture for our daily life, so that our resilience and quality of life, is maintained. So we know that sleep is it's a universal phenomenon. It is present across all species. All animals, will have they will sleep, and they have their own way of sleep. When the nature has preserved this particular function of sleep across evolution, so it means that this has a very, very important role to play in everybody of us, not only for the human beings, across the species, right? And it is preserved across the evolution. But probably if you take say around 20 years back or 30 years back, especially when this yoga and meditation was not much heard, in the academic circles. So if you look at a very gross, the findings, sleep, when we go to sleep, it brings down our metabolism, it reduces our heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory rate, all those things. And for those times, they also said that meditation practice also reduces heart rate, it also reduces blood pressure, it also reduces, respiration, GSR, and everything is same. So probably in those days they told, okay, meditation is a type of sleep, and so if you sleep, it means that okay, you're also in a meditative state. That was a very, very, very vague, conclusion that people used to have around from the say science point of view in those days. But one important thing is that that meditation brings about a change in a person. It brings about change in a personality. So if changing personality is one of the component, and if somebody sleeps and when he gets up in the morning, and if his personality is changed, right, then we can say, right, okay, meditation is also equivalent to sleep. But that is not actually that we can see that it doesn't happen like that, right? When we get up, we are also the same person. But what happens during sleep, what are the subtle process that happens during sleep, and how the subtle process is influenced by meditation practice, in long run, definitely it is going to help in bringing some changes in the brain network, so that the resilience, it builds up in a personality. Now, to just give you the overall view that if you take the Ashtanga Yoga and all the components of Ashtanga Yoga, starting from Yama, right, to Dhyana. So we have seen that, right, because of various mechanisms. It can be with the hormone mechanism, changes in some neurotransmitters, changes in some components. It affects on immune system. It acts on brain. It acts on the heart, and all those things collectively, right? It brings about all these things. What it reduces the depression, it reduces the anxiety, it reduces the negative symptoms, it increases cognition, it increases sleep, and it increases attention. So all the negative things that we tend to accumulate, right, it goes down with the yoga or the meditation practice, and whatever that the good or that is associated with the health and wellness and the inner growth, right, it increases through these particular practices. Now we'll try to concentrate only on the sleep. So we know sleep is a very complex behavioral state which has effect of the hormone system. It has an effect of the brain, right, and also in many other process. It brings about the sleep. So sleep is not a passive process. Earlier that it was assumed that sleep is a very passive process. Whenever person sleeps, right, his brain is also sleeping. It doesn't work, but it's not so. Brain is very active during sleep, but the mode of but the activity, right, during sleep is entirely different of the brain when you compare to that of a wake. So when we sleep, right, what happens is that that sleep is not a uniform state. We have a cyclical pattern that comes during sleep. So we have what is called as NREM sleep and REM sleep. REM sleep stands for rapid eye movement sleep. NREM sleep stands for non-rapid eye movement sleep. So the meaning of rapid eye movement sleep is that, so somebody say go to a bed, you just see, say after say 90 minutes after going to bed, you can see some horizontal fluctuations of his eyelids that is happening. So that is called as rapid eye movement sleep. So these black bars that you are seeing on the slide, these are the episodes of rapid eye movement sleep. Then we have a non-rapid eye movement sleep where this rapid eye movement is not present. But this non-rapid eye movement sleep, from the lighter sleep, it goes to a deeper and deeper and deeper sleeps. So if you look over here, right, so W is wake, then you have his 1, 2, 3, 4 here. 1 and 2 is called as light sleep, and 3 and 4 is called as a deep sleep. So deep sleep is a part of non-rapid eye movement sleep, right? And so he goes in a very systematic way from lighter sleep. The person goes to a very deep sleep state, and he spends some time in the deep sleep state, and then he comes to REM sleep. So what is the two experiential differences between your REM sleep and NREM sleep? In REM sleep, right, so we dream, and the content of the dream will be more emotive in nature. That emotional aspects of content of the dream, it will be more in the REM sleep. And also during what is this NREM sleep, or with that of a very deep sleep state, right, we are not at all aware of ourselves. We are not aware of our external surroundings, and if you look at the whole night sleep, right, we spend more in deep sleep state in the first half of the night, and as the night progresses, we can see that our REM sleep will go on increasing, right? And now suppose if somebody gets up in the morning and he says he had a very wonderful, enjoyable sleep and he feels very fresh, what does it mean? It means that that particular person would have spent around, right, around say 10 to 15% of his time in the deep sleep state, right, around 20-25% in the REM sleep state, and the rest of the things, okay, in stage 1 and stage 2 and all those things. And also the most important is that he has to spend in these sleep cycles, right, throughout the night. Now what do you mean by sleep cycle? You have this NREM sleep and you have a REM sleep. This whole thing is called as sleep cycle, and such 4 to 5 sleep cycles, it should happen every time. So this is to say that in a normal sleep, you have NREM sleep and REM sleep. In both, we have a dreams. In REM sleep, it is more, content of dream is more emotional in nature. We have sleep cycles. 4 to 5 sleep cycles are very important, right? And in the first half of the night, we spend more in slow wave sleep. And in the second half of the night, we spend more in REM sleep. So why this REM sleep is very important? REM sleep is very important because this REM sleep is it plays a very important role to build a new connections in the brain, right? And why this deep sleep is very important? Deep sleep is very important because it resets, the whole our system, right? Not only the brain, the whole system, right? For the, for the next day, the activity, like. So both this NREM sleep and REM sleep are very, very important. So, it's sometimes what happens. So both, with the aging process, with the normal aging process, we can see that, right? This NREM sleep or the deep sleep, it goes on reducing, and you have a REM sleep also, it will become very fragmented. It won't be very stable. So when such things are happening, right, the person feels not having adequate sleep. When he gets up in the morning, he feels also very, very sleepy. So these two are very, very important. And also very important is sleep is also involved in encoding of memory and also that of a memory consolidation. This sleep is also important for building up of the resilience as far as the emotions are concerned, especially during the REM sleep. So that's why that both NREM sleep and REM sleep, they play a very, very important role, right? As far as the neural process is concerned, how our emotion, memory, right, all these things are encoded in the brain. Now we'll try to, not only that, our at least in this present scenario, this is very important, where what we are facing about COVID, right? Even in the deep sleep state, in the first half of the night, so we can see that there we have certain hormones like increase in growth hormone secretion and all those things, that play a very important role even in building up the immunity. So for our mental well-being, to increase our cognitive capacity, to bring about the emotional resiliency, at the same time to build our immunity, there's adequate sleep play a very, very important role. Now, as I said that because of the normal age associated changes, there will be a decrease in slow wave sleep, and the decrease in slow wave sleep, it starts even as early as around age of 30, and it goes on progressing, say by the age of 50 or 60, 65. So there will be complete loss of deep sleep, and the REM sleep, it start decreasing maybe after 70 or 70 to 75 years. So because of this decrease in slow wave sleep and the REM sleep, after REM sleep after 70 or 75 years, we can see a lot of sleep related problems, right? Even the older, this age group. So now, so we did a study based on our Vipassana meditation techniques, or where we found that the person who is practicing, okay, of course, our model was Vipassana meditation. It can hold good for any other meditation techniques. That the person who meditates regularly for a long period of time, his slow wave sleep is retained, right? The reduction in the slow wave sleep with the normal aging is very less, and his REM sleep is more. Now, what does it mean? It means that increasing or the prevent or maintaining of slow wave sleep even in the old age means that all the benefits that the person gets because of the slow wave sleep, right, is there in that particular person. And most important is that the way in which the slow wave sleep is generated in the brain, where the different areas of brain, that gets connected, so it is still functioning. So if that functioning is lost, it means that the slow waves, the slow waves are not produced, so that the deep sleep is disappears. But in meditators, right, that deep sleep state, it still persists. It means that the normal age associated changes that should happen in brain is not happening. So there will be a mitigation or the reduction in this normal age associated changes, right, that should happen during our in the brain. And also we have found there is an increase in the REM sleep. Now, why this REM sleep plays an important role? See, REM sleep plays a very important role as far as our emotions are concerned, right? So whenever we face we have emotionally disturbed, there is no emotional resilience in us, right? Our REM sleep is very much altered. So in meditators, we have found that there is an increase in REM sleep. And also important is REM sleep is also important to bring about what is called as plasticity changes. Now, what do you mean by plasticity changes in the brain? Plasticity changes in the brain means that the brain is very much flexible, and new connection can happen as efficient as possible and as fast as possible. That is one of the important component of your REM sleep. So with meditation practice, there is also increase in REM sleep. So if you look at the meditation structure of meditation, right? So we have many components. So we give component on attention. So there will be awareness, right? Emotion regulation. All those things plays a very important role. Now, when we meditate, right, there is one particular wave, that is recorded with EEG. We call it as gamma waves, where gamma waves plays a very important role, where it binds all the different parts of the brain together, and it works in the synchrony. So working of the whole brain in a synchronous manner is one of the most important aspect of meditation practice. So when the whole brain is working in synchrony, right, it has a natural effect on the sleep also, and during sleep also, the whole brain, okay, it also works in synchrony. So the synchrony of the brain during wake, right, also brings about a good deep sleep state, and also with that of a REM sleep state. So that's why meditation plays a very important role. And gamma waves during wake, when we do meditation, it also known to enhance our cognitive capacity. So our cognition, memory, so all those things, it is associated with our gamma activity. And also one more thing that we also found was that suppose say there are certain neurons that are involved in generating a deep sleep. So how many neurons are needed to generate a slow wave sleep, or it can be a REM sleep or whatever? In this case, what I'm describing is about a slow wave sleep, right? So we have found that even though we have a more slow wave sleep, but the amount of neurons that are involved in generating, okay, this slow wave sleep is very less when compared to non-meditators. Now, what does it mean? It means that, right, say for example, so you should have a say 5 minutes of slow wave sleep. So if a non-meditator takes around, he uses say around 100 neurons to produce a 5 minutes of slow wave sleep. A meditators can produce say the 5 minutes of slow wave sleep, say using around 10 neurons. So it means that your efficiency of your neurons, right, is also increased. So this is what this particular slide telling you, that right, that the power of, I mean, delta power or theta power during slow wave sleep, right, is very less in meditators. It means that, okay, our brain is more efficient to bring about the optimal output or the function. And also there are other studies, which they have shown that there will be a very good integrated network, right, with that of this meditation practice. Now this network, right, is what that brings about resiliency in us. And as this network, is increased, or it becomes more efficient because of meditation practice during our wake hours, right, so corresponding our sleep quality also will be, right, very, very good, and it will be very better. The other important things, right, about the sleep, okay, is also about how our autonomic activity or our the heart, right, it also behaves during sleep. So as I said that, we have this slow wave sleep and REM sleep, and REM sleep is a very active state, and compared to REM sleep, our slow wave sleep is a very slightly less active state. So because of this low activity and high activity compared to REM sleep and our slow wave sleep, right, our heart activity and also our respiratory activity, right, it also changes. So one important aspect about the autonomic activity is that there will be increase in the sympathetic surge. What do you mean by increase in sympathetic surge? Our heart rate will increase, blood pressure will increase, respiration will increase during REM sleep. Okay? But during slow wave sleep, so everything will be less. Why this is very important as far as our the health is concerned is because, so we know that most of our unfavorable cardiac events, right? It can be stroke, it can be MI or the heart attacks, right? All those things, it generally occurs early in the morning. Why it occurs early in the morning? Because my REM sleep is more early in the morning. REM sleep is a very high active state, and this brings about an increase in the activity of the heart, and the heart will not be in a position to take up this load, and the coronary circulation or the blood that is supplying it to the heart itself will constricts, and right, the person will develop the heart attack or the myocardial infarction. Now what we have observed is, with meditation practice, right, when there is a increase in the this sympathetic activity even during REM sleep, right, so it is effectively buffered, right. Our system is so flexible that even it reduces, right, anything the that is increasing. But this particular thing, even in old age, it is not the person who are not meditating. So this flexibility, right, of our system, okay, to bring down everything back to normalcy, right, is one of the very important component of our physiological resilience. So right, as far as the sleep is concerned. And also other important thing during sleep is also about respiratory pattern. How do we respire, right? This also determines, right, how our system will also get adjusted or to face the challenges. A very simple deep breathing practice, right, is known to increase the melatonin levels. So this hormone melatonin plays a very important role in all the good things, right. It brings sleep, right, it is anti-aging, it's a feel good hormone, right. All those things, it is associated with the simple deep breathing can increase that of a melatonin, right, and increases it decreases our the stress hormones. So this increase in melatonin plays a very important role, and we have seen that, right, in meditators there is an increase in melatonin levels, right, compared to non-meditators. And so as I said, this melatonin plays a very, very important role in all the aspects, whatever that is there in the good. It can be at physical level or even it can be at the psychological level. Meditation says hi, I am here. So meditators, all they roam around with high levels of melatonin, right, in their body. And also other hormone that plays a very important role, like that of a melatonin, we call it as DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone. This is also an anti-aging hormones. So this is to say that, and it also brings about increase in slow wave sleep, that is deep sleep state. So increase in deep sleep state, preserving deep sleep state, increase in REM sleep state plays a very, very important role to bring about our physical and also for our emotional and mental resilience is concerned, and where our regular practice of meditation plays a very, very important role. And by bringing and retaining the slow wave sleep and the REM sleep, so it also reduces the normal aging process, right, as far as the the brain is concerned. So this is what I think I'll stop here with our brief thing. I think I have taken 10 minutes more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindra, for enlightening us with your findings of the research paper, sleep research findings. Yeah, absolutely, we would concur. Meditation is a fabric, right, of the culture theory, and at the same time, sleep, right, which is a universal phenomena. And thank you for enlightening us that sleep and meditation, basically, they've got similar benefits, right? And हमने देखा, through your presentation, the NREM and the REM type of, sleep waves, और आपने बताया across ages and for meditators, non-meditators, and the hormones, right? Increased level of melatonin levels in meditators. I think bilkul eye-opening, research paper shared with us, enlightening. So I'm sure we'll be encouraged to do more of meditation, right? So we are able to reap benefits. And with this, I know we, probably need to keep a tab on the, clock as well. A quick one, हमने कहा था कि अगर किसी के पास question हो, I can see one question. Probably just take first and last question. ये है मुकुल भाई से. So the question is the deep sleep quality shown in Vipassana? Yes. Is it Mukul Bhaiji? Would you want to talk about it? एक question पूछेंगे. आपका question है Vipassana से related, deep meditation से related.
Dr. Ravindra, we just wanted to check up that these Vipassana meditation practitioners who have been referred, on an average, how many years they are practicing, and is the readings also taken during meditation stage, or it is only during the sleep stage? These two questions. Thank you.
Okay. See, the data which I showed you was only of sleep. Otherwise, we have data also during meditation practice also. Both are there. And as far as the sleep data is concerned, all of them were very senior practitioners. So senior practitioners, who are practicing at least the minimum, say, of 5 years regularly, and more than 5 years.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
See, the long-term practice is what brings about a permanent change.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindra. It was really enlightening for all of us, and a kind of eye-opener for all of us, right? Benefits of meditation and benefits of sleep, and how do many meditators, right? Their levels are seen, they've got increased levels, and so yeah, improved performance as compared to others. So thank you very much for the enlightening one. A big thank you to all your time, all your efforts, sparing your valuable time with us. And with this, we thank you very much. Now we move on to the next topic of the day. अब हमने बात की sleep management and sleep research findings. अब हम बात करेंगे Rajyoga meditation effects of Rajyoga meditation on psychological and functional outcomes in spinal cord injury patients. And this is presented to us by Ekta Chalagiri, who is BSc Biology. By profession, she was a fashion designer, and she also worked as manager merchandise in reputed national and multinational organizations for around 3 years. और जो ये पेपर है effects of Rajyoga meditation in psychological and functional outcome in spinal cord injury patients, जो आपने present किया है scientific conference Tokyo August 2019, जो और प्रेजेंट हुआ है एट माउंट आबू इन सितंबर 2019 और यही प्रेजेंट हुआ है न्यू दिल्ली अक्टूबर 2019 in International Spine and Spinal Injuries Conference, or this is being presented with all of us. So a warm welcome to Ekta Chalagiri, and over to you, Ekta, for the topic effect of Rajyoga meditation on psychological and functional outcomes in spinal cord injury patients. Over to you, Ekta Chalagiri.
Thank you, Sister Trupti. So the effect of Rajyoga meditation on psychological and functional outcomes in spinal cord injury patients. This we have done in the center called Indian Spinal Injury Center in Delhi. So now we are going to present this at front of you about the study. As you know already, like the science and spirituality go hand in hand. So Albert Einstein already quoted, "Science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind." And everyone who is seriously involved in pursuit of science become convinced that a spirit is manifest in the laws of universe, a spirit vastly superior to that of man, and one in the face of which our modest power must feel humble. And the Dalai Lama also mentioned, with the ever-growing impact of science on our lives, and religion and spirituality have a greater role to play in reminding of our humanity. So this is the words has been mentioned by the Dalai Lama and the famous scientist Albert Einstein. Now we should know about the background of this problem. Like spinal cord injury patients and their caregivers have been seen to suffer physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and financially. In all the aspects they are suffering, because this is the injury which a patient has to confine either to wheelchair or a bedridden. They cannot do their daily living activities their own. So physically, and it impacts a lot on their mental and emotional things, and they detach themselves to the social configurations. And every day, to live a daily activity, they are dependent on their caretakers or the caregivers or some attendants for a small things. So, and some finances on their daily routine are also involved in that. Therefore, their caregiver are also under stress because of the relationship of their disbalancement of the emotions and all. So research has shown that negative emotional reactions are inevitable consequences following SCR. So this has been said by Kennedy and Rogers in 2000. So we have initiated our Rajyoga meditation services to these hospital patients, and we have observed like they start feeling happy, and even the suicidal cases are improving, and they had a hope to live their life. And later on, then we have done the research on this, keeping in view all the researches has already been done. So technology and modern medicine may support to control further physical decay, like the conventional rehabilitations and all. They can help us to them, like improving their muscle spasticity and all, but they are not giving them mental support. Their emotions are not being cured. They are not making them socially strong. They are only helping them to a physical level. So the physical, the religious and spiritual belief and practices helps to prevent illness, recovery from surgery, reducing mental illness and coping with the same. This has been observed in few of the researchers. So studies indicate positive relationship between spiritual mindedness and the health. The, about the meditation, earlier the mindfulness meditation has done a lot of work on this, like self experience, self realization, and a specific practice to achieve the discovery of the ultimate truth. The Kokugawa has mentioned in 1990, according to Shapiro et al., they mentioned like significantly decrease stress and increase increase compassion, tremendous effect in healthcare. They have been observed in their research works too. So, like how the Rajyoga meditation work as an intervention. So, Rajyoga meditation technique we have done in a 4 different limbs, which is like wisdom, that can be called as knowledge or gyan. Remembrance means yog, the divine connection. Practices of virtues like dharana, to inculcate the divine virtues within, and the services. So wisdom, what is wisdom? So when they people come to know the peace and positivity are our original nature. Pain, suffering, and all negative emotions are acquired due to ignorance of our original nature of positivity. It affects on their mind and they empower themselves. So everything in this universe, both matter and non-material being like soul, pass through the stages of Sattva, Rajo, and Tamo. Understanding this universal flow equips one to realize need for creating the positive feelings in the self and recreating the positive thoughts instead of getting struck with the question of why me, because these people are like, why it happens with me only? Because there are the people, those are the youngest to older one. So the youngsters are mostly asking why me, why it happens with me. So because this is a very crucial injury, so they are unable to come out. But when your mind is empowered, then you can battle with this injury and you can have the courage, like I can go beyond this and I can do many things apart that. And the remembrance means, which we called yoga. So practicing soul consciousness with self-respect, like I am the pure soul, I am a peaceful soul, and I am most powerful soul. When you realize your original nature and connect with the self, it increase your self-esteem. And secondly, they develop the connection with the supreme power, which is a point of light and the positive energy. When you focus on him, you start imbibing the positivity, positive rays within you, and it helps to empower the self to rule the mind, sense organs, and the body. So this mind body intervention helps you to lead a future life. And when you're focusing on the positive energy, you inculcate the divine virtues and services to have good wishes for the self and for the others. So this is called the seva. The objectives of this behind this research is to explore applications of Raj Yoga along with conventional treatment to strengthen the patients and their caregiver as an individual and holistic way. So the primary objective is to find out effect of Raj Yoga meditation on psychological and functional outcomes in persons with spinal cord injury. Secondary objective to study the effects of Rajyoga meditation on pain in spinal cord injury population and psychological outcomes in family members and the caregivers. So the hypothesis behind this, like spinal cord injury is a lifelong disabling condition with psychological impact on both patient and his or her caregiver. It was hypothesized that RYM would, like Rajyoga meditation, would have a psychological impact on the person with SCI, spinal cord injury, thus affecting the psychological and functional improvement on affected person. The literature we have review has shown some studies which shows that spirituality on the health is affecting in the healing, and critical review for athletic trainer. Internet delivered mindfulness for people with depression and chronic pain following spinal cord injury. The other studies which has been done through the Rajyoga meditation on a different aspects and shown the results like efficacy of Rajyoga meditation on positive thinking, self-satisfaction and happiness in life. The Rajyoga meditation helps to modulation for anxiety and serum cholesterol in patient undergoing coronary artery bypass surgery. And Rajyoga helpful in maintaining patients' biochemical and hematology profile during breast cancer treatment. And other studies are also there. I am mentioning here a few of it in front of you. The study was designed. It was a pre-post non-randomized controlled study with two groups at single tertiary care center, Indian Spinal Injury Center, which is in New Delhi. There are two groups has been done, like intervention group with the experimental group. Patients, those are participating in their conventional rehabilitation, and they participate in Rajyoga meditation also. And the control group, they are only following their conventional rehabilitation. And the caregivers were also clustered in same group as that of their respective patients, so that we can correlate the impact. If the patients are improving, like is this impacting to the caregivers also? The recruitment phase was 16 months and intervention duration was the 1 month follow-up. Every day we have given this meditation to them, like half an hour classes. The 25 minutes the discourse was there, we sharing, we interacting with them through the words of wisdom, and 10 minutes of the meditation. And the same meditation they have to do every day in the morning by their own, which has been given to them in a recorded form. The study population, there were the 100 spinal cord injury patients and the 100 caregivers, 50-50 in age groups, like 50 in intervention, 50 in control group. The inclusion criteria was age between 16 to 60 years, undergoing rehabilitation at Indian Spinal Injury Center, able to comply with the study procedures, sign the informed consent document. Exclusion criteria, not able to sit continuously for at least 45 minutes. Like the patient, those are suffering with the pressure sores and all, they were unable to sit more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So we didn't take those patients in the study. Expected to be discharged from rehabilitation in less than 1 month. Actually, the patients are admitted there for a 1 month at least after the injury. Those are the surgical cases, or for the rehabilitation, or the patient, they come for the rehabilitation, at least they are having a package of a 1 month. Therefore, we have done this study for a month. Having any associated injury, polytrauma, or neurological impairment, any other diseases or condition that in opinion of the investigator may jeopardize the safety of the participant or the ability to participate in the study, participated in any other clinical trials last 3 months. So this was the exclusion criteria. The methods of the study, So the intervention Rajyoga, like as we have mentioned, it was a group therapy, or we can serve as a one-to-one basis, depends on their availability. 45 minutes per day, 6 days a week for a month. to the intervention group. Meditation practice was done for 20 minutes through a guided commentary and motivated them through Brahma Kumaris spiritual knowledge for 25 minutes. Subjects trained to do 20 minutes daily self-practice of Rajyoga meditation in the morning through same guided commentary, which they have been stored in their mobiles, and standard protocol for all admitted person with SCI and like spinal cord injury and Indian Spinal Injury Center include the service of department and its offshoots, including physiotherapy, occupational therapy, vocational counseling, psychological services, peer counseling, social work services, assistive technology, etc. The analysis has been done through IGNOVA. These were the assessment tools which has been used for analyzing like perceived stress scale, numeric pain rating, WHO quality of life breath, spinal cord injury mobility, and hospital anxiety and depression scale. These are the 5 scales has been used to assess the patients. The findings. The value obtained for the parameter studied in SCR patients, like perceived stress scale was p-value is 0.001. Hospital anxiety and depression scale, the p-value is 0.001, and NPR numeric pain rating is a p-value 0.001. Shows statistically significant decrease for patient measure before and after the intervention in between both the arms, between 2 groups, intervention and control, and significant increase in quality of life breath, which is p-value obtained lesser than 0.001, and spinal cord injury measured, that means p-value is lesser than 0.001. So, and the value obtained for caregivers in a psychological test, we have conducted only 2 tests on the caregivers, that is perceived stress scale and heads, and there are also significant decrease we have observed between intervention and control arm. There you can see the table of this group-wise baseline data, where the demographic details and other scale details are already mentioned. Like the next table is the pre-post comparison analysis of covariance, where you have seen the obtained value mentioned here, and all are the significant result we have obtained. Now, after this, we have done the subgroup analysis, because the patients, the spinal cord patients, are paraplegic and tetraplegic also. Paraplegic, those have suffering only on the upper part. Tetraplegic, the patient, those are suffering the upper and lower limbs also. So we have done the comparison of paraplegia and tetraplegia, and we have obtained the value, and we found like paraplegia and tetraplegia both are also significantly decrease in perceived stress scale, heads, hospital anxiety and depression scale, and spinal cord injury, numeric pain rating, and significant increase in spinal cord injury measures and quality of life breath. The next results you can see in table 4. This is the comparison of the acute and the chronic patients, because we have not divided the patients in a different groups, but we have done this subgroup analysis. Acute in patients, those are like up to the 6 months of the injury, we count them the acute injury patients, and after the 6 months injury, the patients were counted in a chronic patients. So there are mixed group. So we have observed like acute and chronic, both the patients has been improved in their all the scales. So the uniqueness of the study is like before that, all the studies which has been done, there were only observed the parameter on the psychological level, like in anxiety and depression. This is the first study we have observed the measurement of the functional outcomes, and we got the significant results. The literature support to our psychological observations, like perceived stress scale, hospital anxiety and depression scale, quality of life, breath and functional observations, numeric pain rating, and spinal cord injury measure for spinal cord injury population like Uderman 2000, Hancock et al. 1993, Shapiro, Wood, Dufresne, Skinner, Mohammed et al., Mathis. So these are all the literature which has been supported to our results. Subgroup analysis also performed on 2 different parameters, which has already been shown in the index, and positive correlation between patients and caregivers was observed in terms of reduction of stress, depression, and anxiety. The conclusion of the study was 1 month add-on easy Rajyoga improved psychological and functional outcomes, hospital anxiety and depression scale, perceived stress scale, numeric pain rating, quality of life, and spinal cord injury measures in patients with spinal cord injury patients. Future studies with robust designs are needed to validate the results. So we have the future plan like to have a subsequent clinical study to observe pre-post brain patterns through EEG and fMRI with Rajyoga meditation intervention. The limitation of the study was the availability of subject based on their interest and feasibility of meditation, because you cannot force the person to do this meditation. So based on their interest, they can follow it. And I must say my gratitude to the Almighty who has made me being an instrument to do this service towards the humanity with a great vigor and zeal. And the team of the Indian Spinal Cord Injury Center, the research team, the rehabilitation team, psychological team, and SpARC wing of Brahma Kumaris, and patients and caregivers, those who participated in this study. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm open for the question if there is any question.
Thank you, Sister Ekta. Thank you for the enlightening, paper presentation, sharing the outcome of the effects of Rajyoga meditation on the psychological and functional outcome in the spinal cord injury patients. Is there any quick question for Sister Ekta here, please? A quick one, please. So I do not see any questions so far in the chat. So I think it was really enlightening. Sister Ekta, हमें पता चला कि how meditation, right? And 1 month meditation, and आपने सब बताया, process बताए, outcomes बताए, results share किए, and 1 महीने के Rajyoga meditation say how it can enhance the psychological and functional outcome. So a big thank you to Sister Ekta for enlightening us, sparing your valuable time with us. और इसके साथ जब हमने बात की the effect of Rajyoga meditation through a research paper in a scientific way, अब एक वक्त है एक quick meditation experience का. A meditation journey inside. So 10 मिनट के लिए एक quick meditation experience. हम जाएंगे अंदर की ओर, भीतर की ओर और शांति का अनुभव. हम बैठे हैं बिल्कुल रिलैक्स्ड, कंफर्टेबल, आराम से. मेरे हाथ पैर बिल्कुल आराम से, शरीर आराम का अनुभव कर रहा है. मन भी शांत, आराम का अनुभव कर रहा है. बाहर से अवेयरनेस को विड्रॉ करते हुए अंदर की ओर मेरी यात्रा प्रारंभ करते हैं। मेरा सारा शरीर रिलैक्स्ड, अपने ब्रीदिंग पैटर्न को ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं। ब्रीद इन, ब्रीद आउट, ब्रीद इन, ब्रीद आउट, ब्रीद इन पीस, breathe out stress, breathe in peace, breathe out stress. मैं अपने आप को देख रही हूं, अपने माथे में भ्रुकुटी के मध्य एक सुंदर चमकता हुआ सितारा। I am a sparkling star at the center of my forehead. शांत स्वरूप सितारा। मुझसे निकलता सफेद रंग का प्रकाश मेरे शरीर में फैल रहा है। मेरे माथे में सफेद रंग का शांति का प्रकाश। मेरा माथा शांत, मेरा सिर, मेरा मस्तिष्क सफेद रंग के शांति के प्रकाश से भर रहा है। मस्तिष्क का कोना कोना, हर मांसपेशी शांति के सफेद रंग के प्रकाश में। मेरा मस्तिष्क शांत, शांति का सफेद रंग का प्रकाश मेरे चेहरे में फैल रहा है। मेरी आंखें, नाक, मुंह, कान शांत। मेरा सारा चेहरा शांत। चेहरे पर कोई चिंता नहीं, शांति का अनुभव। सफेद रंग का शांति का प्रकाश मेरे चेहरे से होकर गले में फैल रहा है। गला शांत, मेरी छाती में फैल रहा है। छाती शांत, मेरे पेट में फैल रहा है। पेट शांत, मेरी रीढ़ की हड्डी सफेद रंग के शांति के प्रकाश से भर रही है। मेरी पीठ शांत, मेरी कमर सफेद रंग के शांति के प्रकाश से भरी हुई। मेरी कमर शांत, मेरे दोनों हाथ, कंधे, घुटने, कोहनियां, दोनों हाथ उंगलियों तक शांति के प्रकाश से भरे हुए। मेरे दोनों हाथ उंगलियों तक शांत। शांति का सफेद रंग का प्रकाश मेरे दोनों पैरों में फैल रहा है। दोनों जांघें, घुटने, दोनों पैर के तलवे, उंगलियां, दोनों पैरों में सफेद रंग का शांति का प्रकाश। दोनों पैर उंगलियों तक शांत। सिर से लेकर पैर की उंगलियों तक सफेद रंग का शांति का प्रकाश। सिर से लेकर पैर तक शांति का अनुभव। मेरा सारा शरीर शांत, सारा शरीर रिलैक्स्ड, सारे शरीर में शांति का अनुभव। मेरा मन रिलैक्स्ड, शांत, कोई चिंता नहीं, कोई दर्द नहीं। मेरा मन पूरी तरह से शांत, शांत, शांत। शांति का अनुभव। शांति, शांति, शांति। तो इस छोटे से शांति के अनुभव के साथ अब हम लेके एक क्विक बायो ब्रेक 5 मिनट का, और बने रहेंगे हमारे अगले टॉपिक के लिए, जो कि है एंशिएंट सॉल्यूशंस फॉर मॉडर्न क्राइसिस। तो अभी 5 मिनट का क्विक ब्रेक, इसी शांति के अनुभव के साथ फिर से मिलेंगे, जुड़े रहेंगे 5 मिनट के बाद।
आत्मदर्शन स्वयं का दर्शन, आत्मदर्शन स्वयं का दर्शन, आत्म ज्योति जगा ले, बुझी हुई जगा कर ज्योति, स्वराज्य फिर पाले, आत्मदर्शन स्वयं का दर्शन। आत्मा राजा कर्म इंद्रियों का, प्रजाए इंद्रिया सारी, राजा अगर स्वराज पे बैठा, सुख संपत्ति हो भारी, स्वराज की रक्षा कर तू, स्वराज की रक्षा कर तू, स्वयं का पहरा लगा ले, आत्मदर्शन स्वयं का दर्शन। तू रथी रथ तन यह तेरा, आगे मन रूपी घोड़ा, पकड़ बुद्धि की लगाम हाथ में, संस्कारों वश दौड़ा, भूला राही अपने पथ को, भूला राही अपने पथ को, स्वदर्शन से पाले, आत्मदर्शन स्वयं का दर्शन, आत्मदर्शन स्वयं का दर्शन, आत्म ज्योति जगा ले, बुझी हुई जगा कर ज्योति, स्वराज फिर पाले, आत्मदर्शन स्वयं का दर्शन, आत्मदर्शन स्वयं का दर्शन।
Spirituality to develop inner resilience, और इस सिलसिले को आगे बढ़ाते हुए अब हमारा अगला टॉपिक है ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइज। तो अभी इस शॉर्ट बायो ब्रेक के पहले हमने कुछ मेडिटेशन प्रयोग से शांति का अनुभव किया, और अब हम बात करेंगे ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइज की। टॉपिक है ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइज एंड इट्स इम्पैक्ट ऑन ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम एंड आइसिस। और प्रस्तुत करता है आदर्श ए, जो कि प्रोजेक्ट असिस्टेंट है MILE लैब IISc बेंगलुरु। तो हम स्वागत करते हैं आदर्श जी का, जो कि इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड कम्युनिकेशन इंजीनियर हैं बेंगलुरु से, और इन्होंने इनका एक पैशन है बायोमेडिकल इंजीनियरिंग एंड न्यूरो साइंस के लिए, और जिस पर ये अभी रिसर्च कर रहे हैं ब्रीदिंग पैटर्न्स पर, और ब्रीदिंग पैटर्न्स एंड देयर इफेक्ट ऑन ह्यूमन बॉडी एंड इट्स साइकोलॉजिकल फंक्शंस। तो ये है टॉपिक आज का। प्रस्तुत करता है आदर्श जी, और मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी आदर्श जी, अगर आप हमको अपने रिसर्च से एनलाइटन करें। आदर्श जी, ओवर टू यू प्लीज।
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
we
clear.
are able
Thank
to
you.
hear you. Okay.
Hello, good morning to everyone. I'm Adarsh. I'm currently working in my lab under Professor A.G. Ramakrishnan, and currently my research interest is the breathing patterns and their effect on the physiological signals. So I'll just share the PPT. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, so
Visible, Adarsh. Put
Okay.
it full screen. That would be great. Thank you.
So is it visible?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so today I'm going to present a topic on the R wave amplitude changes and atypical heart rate changes that accompanied breath hold during low breathing rates. Okay, so to go through the contents, first I'll just go through the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, the cardiorespiratory coupling, the heart rate variability, and the respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Then I'll talk about what was the experiment that we did in the lab, what was the analysis that we carried out, and we'll go through the results. So introduction. So for us human beings, the air that we breathe and the food that we consume are the primary inputs, and respiration is very say intimately connected to the large number of physiological phenomena in our body, and the major of these interactions with other physiological signals are completely not yet understood. This is where I am trying to do experiments and find out what are the other interactions that are happening with respect to respiration in our body. There are ancient texts on yoga written by Tirumantiram of Tirumular and Diksha Vidhi of Agastya and Yoga Shastra of Patanjali, where they have laid a lot of emphasis on these breathing practices, also known as pranayama. So these breathing practices have had a positive impact on the health and wellness, but most of the published research is only on yoga, pranayama, and meditation. But very few of them deal with the effects of breathing alone on the body. So, which is why there is a specific interest as to what happens during the practice of these breathing practices, breathing exercises, and what do they activate in our body, and what do they suppress in the body during the exercises, after the exercises, and their after effects also. So it is a very crucial thing to conduct very deep and fundamental research on the various aspects of respirations, its control, the physiological and neural basis of the intricate relationship with the health and disease of the body. Okay. So when I talk about the respiration system, it's basically the inspiration and the expiration. This is what is called as tidal breathing. When we call as inspiration, the diaphragm contracts, which increases the transdiaphragmatic pressure in the thoracic cavity. So this increase in abdominal pressure, and there is a decrease in thoracic pressure for inspiration, and vice versa for expiration. And the ventilation of the body is a well coordinated process with the blood oxygen, the carbon dioxide, and the pH homeostasis. And the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system refers to the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood in our body. The blood mainly carries the oxygen and other nutrients to the various parts of our body. And this system, the cardiovascular system, is heavily influenced by various activities that we do, such as the physical activity, which varies the oxygen demand in our body, the stress, the temperature of our body, and the respiration. The cardiovascular system and the respiratory system have very similar frequency bands, or they function in a very close proximity. So coming to the functioning of the cardiovascular system, cardiorespiratory coupling, or this is where I speak about how the respiration and the cardiac cycles are linked to each other. So the cardiorespiratory coupling, it's an encompassing term which describes more than the well-recognized influences of respiration on heart rate and blood pressure. So here there is a small diagram which says that the respiration influences the cardiac cycle and the cardiac cycle influences the respiration cycle. It's a very intriguing process that happens in our body. We might be surprised that our breathing changes our heart rate and all, but it is a very fundamental phenomenon that happens in our body. And the respiration and the cardiac cycle, it's like a bidirectional process, bidirectional connection that happens. And the respiration affects the cardiac cycles in multiple different mechanisms, whereas the cardiac cycle only has a single mechanism where it controls the respiratory mechanisms. So now I'll just give a brief about the heart rate variability and the respiratory sinus arrhythmia. So the ECG, let me tell how the ECG is obtained. So the ECG is a measurement of the electrical activity of the heart. So every time our heart beats, there is an electrical impulse that it generates. So each one of these peaks is a heartbeat. So this is a series of heartbeats that are recorded. So when these heartbeats are measured and parameters are derived out of them. So the distance between two heartbeats is what we call as an RR interval. And there is a fluctuation in between these heartbeats. So the fluctuation in the interval of two beats is called as heart rate variability. So the respiratory sinus arrhythmia is the synchrony of the heart rate variability with the phases of the respiration. The heartbeat, the blood pressure, and the ventilation all share some common frequencies. Okay, so now coming to the experiment that we did, we took about 9 healthy subjects who had an age around 32 years. Then none of the subjects had any prior exposure to yoga or pranayamic exercises as such. The subjects were asked to sit in a relaxed upright position, and then we recorded their ECG and respiration using the ANT Neuro Ego MyLab system. Then the subjects then synchronized their breathing to a metronome. The metronome is a program that we devised to control the time of breathing patterns. So this we gave from 60 breaths per minute and we gave down to 2 breaths per minute. Okay, so now this is the metronome that we used for recording the breathing patterns. This was the metronome which was used to synchronize the subject's breathing. So I'll just start playing this. So as the circle increases, the subjects were asked to inhale, and as the circle decreased, they were asked to exhale and synchronize their breathing to this metronome. Similarly, we went from 60 breaths to 2 breaths here. So here we did 2 kinds of breathing exercises. one breathing exercises was without holding the breath and one was with holding the breath. The holding breath we did for only lower breathing cycles from 5 to 2 cycles per minute. Okay, so coming to the analysis of what we did here, we collected ECG and the respiration, and we looked at the relationship between the breathing and the ECG. What were their relationship? How were they connected to each other? And we looked at each phase of the breathing. That is, how is the ECG varying with the inspiration and with respect to expiration. We also measured the R peak amplitude of the ECG with respect to the respiration. The R peak is this peak over here. This sharp peak that is being seen is called as the R peak. That is the most prominent peak in the ECG waveform. So the respiration signal was analyzed in various things. Such we analyzed the respiration frequencies, the respiration rate, and the inspiration and expiration periods. Then we also obtained many time domain parameters from the heart rate variability signal that I told earlier, such as the RMSSD, the percentage of variation of the heart rate variability, then the standard deviation of the heart rate variability were all computed for each of the breathing rates of each subject. Then from these RR intervals, we also obtained the instantaneous heart rate time series. Then we also saw the frequency of the heart rate variability signal with respect to the breathing signal, as well as to the R amplitude signal. We also looked at what is the percentage change that is happening in the R amplitude with respect to the respiration rate. And we also saw that how each of them are correlated to each other. Then looking at the results, this plot that you are seeing here is a plot of the ECG, that is the red color signal, and the blue color, which is the respiratory signal. What we found was that the R wave amplitude decreased during inhalation and increased during exhalation. It was an inverse process with respect to the breathing cycles. As you can see here, the ECG kind of slowly changes its voltage with respect to breathing cycle. And we observed that as the breathing cycles went slower and slower, that is lower breathing rates, this amplitude changes was much more significant. And here, another thing that we found was that at lower breathing rates, the heart rate variability usually follows the respiratory signal. But at lower breathing rates, what we found was there was quite a bit of anomaly where the heart rate varied twice in every breathing cycle, which was anomaly that we found. And it was kind of a very intriguing process as why is this happening in our body. This plot over here shows the breathing cycles, which is in blue color, and the red one is the heart rate. As we can see, the breathing cycle starts from this point over here, where this is the inspiration, this is the breath hold, this is the expiration, and this is a breath hold during exhalation. So as we can see here, during normal breathing, the heart rate generally follows this curve. Whereas during low breathing rates, we were able to see that the heart rate fluctuates in a single breathing waveform. Okay, so coming to the next slide. Okay. So here, this is the frequency spectrum of the heart rate variability the respiration signal and the R wave amplitude. So this was taken from a subject where we can see that the respiration, this is at 5 breathing, this is at 3 breathing, and this is at 2 breaths per minute. So here when we see the respiration and the R wave amplitude are very similar to each other. That means to say that our ECG's voltage varies very synchronously with our breathing. And also, when we looked at the heart rate variability, it should also be very similar to this graph. But at lower breathing cycles, what we found was that there were harmonics in the heart rate variability that was quite prominent across all the subjects. Here, this is also the frequency plot. Here we can see that the respiration and the R wave amplitude is very similar in shape, whereas the heart rate variability has multiple spiking, which increases with lower breathing cycles. For 5 cycles per minute, we can see that there are two prominent peaks, whereas for 2 cycles per minute, we can see that there are 3 prominent peaks over here. So this table shows what was the minimum heart rate, the maximum heart rate, then what was the voltage of the R wave and the maximum voltage, and what was the percentage change in the R wave amplitude. And here when we see for breathing rates from 60 to 10 cycles per minute, most of these parameters remain constant. Whereas when we went for lower breathing cycles or very relaxed breathing as such, we could see that the R wave amplitude changed multifold when compared to the previous segments. And also the heart rate was varying a lot. So this is a plot where it shows the range of heart rate variations with different breathing rates. So we'll start from 60 breathing rate, 60 to 2 breathing cycles. So it is seen that it is an increasing curve. So the lower the breathing rate we have, the more the heart rate variations are found. So this was the plot of the R wave amplitude. The previous plot was the heart rate with respect to respiration rate, whereas this plot is the R wave amplitude with respect to the respiration rate. Here also it is seen that during higher breathing cycles, the ECG's amplitude is very small, whereas as the breathing cycle goes low, the amplitude starts increasing. If you see at the baseline, for a normal subject, it is considered that the breathing rate is around 20 to 15 cycles per minute. So if we see the respiration rate is around 200 microvolts, whereas for the same subject, when the respiration rate went to almost 2 cycles per minute, it had almost increased to 400. We were quite surprised by this double fold increase in the ECG's amplitude, which was not reported earlier in any literature as such. Then this plot shows the correlation between the R wave and the respiration signal. As I told you earlier, the R wave amplitude and the respiration have an inverse relation to each other, where it comes in a negative fashion and goes back up. And we found that the synchrony between the R wave amplitude changes and the respiration rate was at its peak at 5 cycles per minute. So coming to the conclusion of the thing, see, at very low breathing rates, we found that the R wave amplitude variations are completely in synchronous with the phases of the respiration, whereas the HR variations were not in synchronous. It was also observed that at very low breathing rates, the HR variations undergo 2 to 3 complete variations within each respiratory cycle. This is completely unlike the normal respiratory sinus arrhythmia. The amplitude of this QRS reduces during the inhalation and increases during exhalation. And the variation exceeded 100% during the slow breathing rates. And the anomalous phenomenon of this HRV was observed uniformly across all the 9 subjects that we studied during the time when they held their breath during inhalation and exhalation, which is strictly not the RSA that has been published in the literature. It is likely that for reasons unknown at this time, the cardiac rate controls enters at the medulla oblongata override the mechanisms of the RSA at low breathing cycles. And we could not find any systematic study related to the respiratory modulation of the R wave amplitude also in the literature during very slow breathing rates. Hence, this experiment as such still needs to be looked at the respiratory physiologists to get an understanding of why is it happening in our human body. So these are some of the references. And thank you. So I would like to take any questions if any.
Okay, so thank you very much, Adarsh ji. I think this was an enlightening talk. Thank you very much for sharing. हमने देखा cardiovascular process, HRV, RSA, हमने experimental processes देखे without holding breath and while we hold the breath. और इसमें हमने relation देखा with ECG, right? The heartbeat और किस तरह से breathing cycles and heartbeat का relationship है and हमने outcome देखा, results देखा. So a big thank you, Adarsh ji, for sharing all the great stuff with us and enlightening us कि breathing exercise का कितना importance है in our life. और इसके साथ, if there are any questions from any of the audiences, please if you can raise your hand, maybe ask question directly. Okay. The questions मुझे दिख नहीं रहे हैं, but yeah, considering the time crunch that we have got at the moment, I would like to thank you, Adarsh ji. Thank you very much for your enlightening words and for taking time, sparing your valuable time with us. A big thank you to you for all your support.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Yes,
Sister?
yes, kahiye.
Yes, I'm Geeta here. I want to ask, the breathing pattern, there is a gap between one breath as we release and the next one we take. How many seconds the gap should be for a good heart?
Adarsh ji?
Madam, can you repeat the question? It kind of, I
understand. When you're breathing in and out, sometimes you breathe in and out, there is hardly a gap between, breathe in and out, there is a gap. But suppose I am not holding on purposefully, but normal, the gap should be how much for keeping the heart intact, a proper condition. The gap should be more and from one breathing to the next breathing. Also the gap between one breath and the other breath, which I have been practicing as a yoga, also as a Brahma Kumaris. So I've noticed, when the breath, the distance, the gap between one breath and the other is longer, then we can have our peaceful thoughts or maybe a good positive thought. Does it really work? Because as a scientist, as a person who's doing the research, I'm asking you.
Yes, ma'am. Whatever that I have observed is that at lower breathing cycles, at say from 12 breaths and below them, that is, say for a minute, if you're breathing 12 breaths and lower, what we found that was that the heart rate variations are much more prominent when compared to when you're breathing at higher breathing rates.
Okay. So that means lower the gap.
No, the higher the gap, the more relaxed the breathing it is.
Yes. So it can be few seconds. It can be 5 to 6 seconds also.
Yeah. See, when I talk about 12 breathing cycles per minute,
How much is coming to gap? Yeah.
it will be around 5 seconds. So you'll be taking around 5 seconds for each breathing cycle.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adarsh ji. Thank you very much for sparing your valuable time with us, enlightening us.
It was my pleasure, ma'am. Thank you.
थैंक यू। और इसके साथ ही आज का टॉपिक है स्पिरिचुअलिटी टू डेवलप इनर रेजिलियंस। सबसे पहले हमने देखा स्लीप रिसर्च फाइंडिंग्स और उसके बाद इफेक्ट्स ऑफ राजयोगा मेडिटेशन ऑन साइकोलॉजिकल एंड फंक्शनल आउटकम्स इन स्पाइनल कॉर्ड इंजरी पेशेंट्स, और साथ में हमने एक छोटा सा मेडिटेशन एक्सपीरियंस किया टू एक्सपीरियंस पीस। और इसके साथ हमने अभी देखा कि ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइज एंड इट्स इम्पैक्ट ऑन ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम इंडाइसिस। और इसके साथ ही आगे बढ़ते हुए अब हम बात करेंगे कॉन्शियसनेस की, क्वांटम कॉन्शियसनेस। और ये रिसर्च टॉपिक प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं रिंकेश कुरकुरे, जो कि यंग साइंटिस्ट अवॉर्डी हैं। तो रिंकेश जी business strategy analyst and head of innovations at Nirva Solutions Private Limited, और इन्होंने कुछ रिसर्चेस किए हैं और द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जिनके साथ इन्होंने रिसर्च कंडक्ट किया है नासा फॉरेन पीआई सपोर्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, लॉटफी ज़ेडेक्स सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस टीईसी नेरुल और इंपीरियल साइंटिफिक एसोसिएशन। सो ऐसे कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ, एस्टीम्ड ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ इन्होंने रिसर्चेस किए हैं और आज हमारे साथ हैं वैल्यूएबल टाइम अपना स्पेयर करने के लिए, हमें एनलाइटन करने के लिए। सो रिंकेश जी, ओवर टू यू फॉर क्वांटम कॉन्शियसनेस।
Thank you. Om Shanti. And is my screen visible?
अभी तो
Not
नहीं
yet.
है।
Not yet.
Hello. Is my visible screen now?
You are audible, but screen visible नहीं है।
Rinkesh, you might need to click the share button, the green share button in the middle.
I have shared it, but I'm
It's
waiting
loading.
for. Yeah.
It's visible.
Okay, when we talk about quantum consensus, first of all, before I go to the topic, I'm sorry because of some meetings I had, I was delayed. And I will just give a brief introduction to the topic as it is now a very boomed topic in the industry. So what exactly is a quantum consciousness, or what is consciousness when we talk related to quantum or the mystery of tinkering mind? Till now, we know that how a brain processes or something, but we till the day does not know why it happens like that or how the memory is generated or anything. So before I go with the brief of this, I will prefer to go with something with what is quantum mechanics, what is consciousness, and how this quantum is connected with the neurotransmissions and the chemicals which are associated with here, and then I will go to the possible future scopes of this. So to start means don't have the brief understanding of the quantum, I will be very, very layman in that sense so that you understand what I'm going to speak in the proceeding slides. I'm not going to provide any of the research data as such, but I'm going to give an overview of the topic. Okay, so when we talk about light or an electrons as such, they possess few of the properties. If we say a light, okay, as an photon or an electron, then what properties it shows? you can see a reflection of that, you say refraction of that, you see interference, you say diffraction of that, or you say polarization. Polarization, simple example, you use a polarized glasses or specs. Then interference, when you have, to give a simple example, if you throw two of the stones in a lake, then the pattern which is created by the wave on the lake will create an interference pattern. A refraction, where you see the bending of light, you see in the prism or a rainbow formation of a light, that is a refraction. And a reflection, a mirror. Photoelectric effect, which comes in your solar panels and Compton scattering, I could not tell you directly as such an example. Okay, now basically to view in this is at the same time it shows a wave nature also. It is behaving like a wave, whereas in the same time it is in a particle nature also. That is, it carries a momentum with it, a mass with it, but in a wave it does not have a mass, it can travel with the speed of the light. See, but whereas when it comes to a particle nature, it is not possible. So how does this two have a at same time? This relation between the particle and the wave properties of light was very interesting to see, and was proposed way in 18th century and early 19th century by the two fundamental terms, that is energy and frequency. You might be knowing that E is equal to hc by lambda and E is equal to h nu. With this coming and de Broglie's hypothesis coming into picture, we can see that the relativistic formula which came in was E square is equal to c square p square plus mc square, sorry, mc the whole square, that is m square plus c raised to 4. But the light, as it is E is equal to pc and we know c is equal to lambda nu, we get that momentum p is equal to h by lambda or h nu by c. In common terms, by the Planck's equation, we say that, and the wave vectors of that and angular frequency, if we uh, put together, we can commonly write it to the formulation which was given by Einstein, that a beam of light can be treated as a stream of particles of photons at a rest mass, and each photon has an energy of E is equal to hc by lambda. Putting the Planck's constant to that as a frequency and wavelength in the vacuum respectively, we find that as a light intensity is proportional to the photon flux, number of photons passing through the unit area per second. And from special theory of relativity, we come to the conclusion E square is equal to mc square raised to square plus c square b square. That is consequently the particle with a zero rest mass and having a momentum. Why this result was very important was it shows the dual particle nature. And the de Broglie's hypothesis, which came into picture with P is equal to mv and h by lambda, substituting in the previous equations from 1924, in the de Broglie hypothesis, gave that the mass and the moving velocity with the momentum will have a correlation with the kinetic energy of the particle, which was shown in the previous slide as an entire equation with the wave number and wave function. I will not go into the mathematics how it is derived. Just remember that it will be producing a kinetic energy and have will have a phase interaction with each other. We will produce a, say, destructive, or will have an constructive interference positions, which will be of very use when we are talking about the electron transfers later on in the coherence consensus part. So why actually, what happened, what was the failure in the classical model which was given by the Newtonian mechanics and as a particle behavior? So when an electron was orbiting and orbiting around a nucleus, basically it should emit the charge in the form of an electromagnetic wave and should spirally fall in the nucleus. But it is not so. The electron remains at it is, and there is no collapse of an atom, even though we find there is a continuous spectra observed in the radiations or radiation spectra. So the classical mechanics here was unable to explain us why the atom was stable. So there came into existence of a quantum theory or wave nature of a light or interference. Okay. uh, okay, so this is how we have our interference pattern coming into picture. This slide at the end, if you see, there is an image which produces from the two source to tell what is a superpositioning or of an identical phase. Basically, if I have a two waves in a same pattern, it will have an enlarged one with the addition of this two in a layman language, but it is not so directly. But I will show you few images later on of this. If they are dissimilar to each other in the phase, they will cancel out each other and you will get nothing. What is happening over here also, if they are having, this is a brighting structures whereas this is your dark structures. Similarly, if they are partially shift, there will be a downfall in the net amplitude of the wave, which is interfering. So if I say about this as a crust and a trough which are there and they are falling on each other, having the wave to be interacting, they, if they overlap with each other with the same phase, they will be in the constructive pattern or will find as a white spaces, or you say as a good interference pattern. Now here C, D, E and F has a positive or constructive interference pattern, whereas the blank spaces which are created over here will have a destructive interference pattern, or which was given and demonstrated by double slit experiment in 1801. So if I say, if there are two ranges I keep as a two nearby sources to create this structure of A and B, I find this type of interference pattern with the highest intensity in the middle part, like this, and the subsequently lesser in this. And as I said, the slight of phase change will occur, and this is the entire quanta or the one single packet of energy which we talk about further. So this was regarding the quantum part, and now comes to the consciousness. When did the conscience arise? Was it arise before we born, or was it is developed post we born, or it was developed by enhancing our qualities, or we getting enhanced in a sense of genetic transmutations? We does not know. Does it really start at a big bang, or was even before at the big bang and getting evolved and is now also evolving? We are pretty not sure, but yes, there is a simple gap which we understand now in the consciousness, is it is a gap, or say a thin line between a quantum and a classical understandings of the world, which we was failed to understand till now. But yes, we are exploring till now. The theories have arrived with Hemroff, Ored, Roger Penrose, and multiple others, but till the date we does not have evident proof till the state to go through it. So the Ostrod objective reduction, which was proposed by Penrose, which Dr. Penrose, or I should say Sir Penrose, a Nobel laureate, more than the classical rule describe the consciousness. Prof told that a physical location of quantum effects should be there. When they both of them computed the microtubule structures in the brain with the quantum computation in neurons, changing the anomally firing of that through OR process given by the concept of quantum gravity in the consciousness in the universe book of Dr. Roger Penrose, and the physiological mechanism how it actually gets into conversions was the first thing when it was been spoken up. But the recent topic which came up with the quantum computing coming into picture and miniaturizing in a conference held at the California, it was observed that not only in that there is excitonian but also in the various sectors, right, start from the plant when they are harvesting the energy. Let's say we are about to talk about the chromophores and the coherence in the photosynthesis of the chemical reactions in the plant to have the energy and the food. So when the light as E is equal to h nu is bombarded on a chromophore in a leaf to accept that electron and transfer that electronic energy to formation of a glucose, which with the help of CO2 to have an energy of an electron, which can then later go into ATP cycle and have NADPH and NAD plus to have a body working. So actually that quanta is coherently transferring the electron exciton. So there is a relation between these two. So how that relation is that we are evolving, right? If we see about the DNAs and the stuff also, we observe that. Let's say a nerve cell, if we go into the nerve cell with the body dendrites, nucleus, million axons, and the microtubules in the structures with the mitochondria connections, which are transferring of an entire electron or a neurotransmission for a brain to sense the signal. And let's say excitonic terminal of this, we see there are receptors, then there is a calcium channel voltage gated and a synaptic vesicles, and they are the neurotransmitters. So basically what is happening is again an electron transfer or a charge transfer. So if it is an electron transfer, then absolutely a quantum behavior is coming into picture the in this system. So the another example, if we need to take, is the chemistry and the spin biology. That is the effect of the magnetic fields on the understanding by the animals in the locations or magnetoreceptions, what you say, then the selection of singlet and the triplet formations in the zones. When actually two magnetic field resonance is occurring, there will be a formation of the singlet and the triplet in the spin states. I messed up in the initial part about to talk about the spin. I'm sorry. Spin is the orientation of the electron in which direction it is going to move. That is the feeling of an orbital. It's also in a layman language you can say about half filled orbital and the fully filled orbitals. So when an electron energy is accepted by an atom in its last vacant shell, having some or a complete orbital or an unfilled orbital, it will produce a singlet or a triplet of it by the external magnetic field, which can also be a radical pair mechanism with the birds in the sector, which was already done as a study by few groups. Then what we call as a neural entanglement or neural firing, which I was previously talking about, the electrons getting captured and been translated in a neurotransmitter system or a poisonous molecule. So let's say if we talk about this, the periodontal soup as an example, and how it is going to go is by a cloud formation and the spark in a condensation column when we heat them and give a spark of a power supply to split about an electron cloud. Let's say if I talk about the amphibolate biomolecules, which is seen they are have a non-polar nature, oil like rings in a pi resonance cloud. Why this pi resonance cloud, or what exactly it is creating? It is basically, you say, is an benzene structure with a stable bonding, but actually an electron is resonating inside. So again, this resonating electron and the free, or say, electrons at the tip of this are using as a sensory parts for an electron transfer, which I was talking about, the delocalized electrons and the cloud formations and the stuff of this when this bond is revolving to have a pi resonance. Not only that, but if we go into this as a water soluble or an exterior uh, molecule for the stuff in the micelles and the proteins, they all are connected with this benzene ring structures and producing the electrons for the transfers. So if I produce some external electromagnetic field, absolutely it is going to inherently impact the systems, and how much and what should be sent as a tailored electromagnetic wave will be a very, very interesting topic in the future to understand. Till now we does not have that information. Even if we say there is a stacking of a non-polar and the polar bondings in the DNA structures and the RNA structures, where you say this is a resonating part which is in the non-polar structures and the polar at the end, or which creates a greater impact with the electron transfer systems. And if I say that the terahertz of radiation in thermal noise has been produced with this, there is a dipole oscillation in this that will be producing the spin or the quantum superposition, and the superposition is nothing but the interference pattern which I already talked to you about, which is observed to be in the microtubule structurings. So non-polar pi resonance cloud in biomolecules conductive to quantum states and post consensus. So if I talk about them into again the neurotransmitters or neurodepressants and stuff. So if we take an example of a serotonin, or let's say dopamine, you can see that the structure inside the stuff and the OH molecules with this negative charge, this and the positive charge, they are lock and key to different sectors, which give them a electron transfer. If there is an electron transfers and the bendings, then there will be a quantum effect. Bular, I will not go in the details of this systems. So when we talk about the brain and the triggering of this molecules and the electron transfer, we can go into something called as theta waves and the delta waves of this when they are triggered as a PFC in the cortex regions and the thalamus. Generating from that, where we say about the conscious and the unconscious mind. There is another philosophy given as high order thoughts of triggering to have a bing bing of that. So thalamic inputs and subcortical, I say about this as basically this is showing how the phases and the transition occurs for an electron transfer to produce the systematic of electrons in the EEG and EEC graphs. to have the understandings which we till doesn't have yet of a prolonged states, it will be very, very useful in your coma understandings in the futures. Or Alzheimer diseases, when we talk about the microtubule sub inputs getting disintegrated and having a post-operative cognitive disinfections or POCDs, where we actually see a neuron, and at the tip of the neuron, if you see, there is a disintegration of microtubules. When we talk about the microtubules, they are basically a, a stacking of your hexagonal non-polar bondings with the tangling of the receptors over end, which are having positive or a negative charge.
Rinkesh ji, a quick time check, please.
Okay, sure. So
अगर quick,
I will go very fast then. I have cut short to many of the stuff so that this topics can be told about.
Sure,
Okay,
अगर 1-2
so
मिनट में हम summarize कर
yeah,
सके तो
sure.
thank you.
The frequency and the default model, if we see about the switching of the human brain and ECG models, the microtubules and the microtubule dysfunctions in the pyoresonance in the tubulin can be observed. When I do not know what will be the future stuff of this, and if we see the bonding structures in the microtubules and tubulins with the coin, the pi and the dipole and the anti-dipole stresses, then the anesthetics which we do observe in this to be have an effect if we do the microtubuling structures in the observation. So the future can be a very tailored electromagnetic neurodepressants, and the anesthetics can be observed for a long space travel also when humans are trying to explore in the neutral worlds. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
बहुत
Over to
बहुत
you.
शुक्रिया रिंकेश जी. Basically, this reminded me of my schooling. 10th, 12th, reflection, refraction, interference. और
Sure.
उससे भी ज़्यादा important, its importance in my day-to-day life, my practical implementation, and how some of this can be measured, reported, right? And we are able to derive, right, some of the valuable outcomes in the form of consciousness. Yeah. And सबसे
It
one
is
of the things that
unexplored till now. We are now stepped in this to explore.
बहुत बढ़िया.
So I said I thought it will be a great to tell about this so that everyone can now talk about in a scientific manner. So we can jump out, because till now what we say does not had any proof. Now we can put into proof formats.
And
Yes, it will
that's
take
the
time.
absolutely, and that's the great outcome here, right? That we are able to demonstrate, right? We've got matrices, we are able to present, we've got reports, and we'll be able to talk to the world about it, right? So बहुत shukriya aapka, right? And this was an enlightening conversation for all of us, quantum consciousness. So thank you, Rinkesh ji, बहुत shukriya for your valuable time and enlightening us with this, research paper. Big thank you to you. और
Thank you, ma'am.
इसके साथ अब हम जाते हैं, जब हम बात कर रहे हैं क्वांटम कॉन्शियसनेस, और अब बारी है योगा के बारे में बात करने की. सो योगा साइकोलॉजी, और हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं रामा जयम जी, जो कि साइंटिस्ट सी योगिक साइंस सेंटर ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस स्टडीज न्यूरोसाइकोलॉजी निमहांस बेंगलुरु. Rama Jayanji, he is PhD in Yogic Science and Psychiatry from S. Vyasasa University, and he's been keen combining the best of modern science with the Eastern Yogic science, and has done a lot of researches and is here to present with us yoga psychology. So over to you, Rama Jayanji. Rama Jayamji, we are not able to hear you, okay? आप म्यूट पर दिखाई दे रहे हैं. रामा जयम, आप हमें सुन पा रहे हैं? Okay, that's good. आप म्यूट पर दिखाई दे रहे हैं. We are not able to hear you.
He is trying to reset that something. In the meantime, like, we'll
Okay,
wait
so जब
for a
तक
moment.
आते हैं Ramajayam ji, a quick recap, right, of some of the great stuff that we have done through the day. और शुरुआत हमने की spirituality to develop inner resilience, right? ये हमारा टॉपिक है जिसमें हम बात कर रहे हैं inner resilience. और जैसे कि हमने बात की, the external world is nothing else but a manifestation of my inner state of mind. और जब हम
एक मिनट, मेरे ख्याल से प्रफुल्ल भाई, come online please.
दिखाई नहीं दे रहे पार्टिसिपेंट्स लिस्ट में प्रफुल्ल भाई जी.
Ramjan bhai, try now. Yes, please go ahead. Continue. You are unmuted now.
Yeah. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Just starting. Hope my slides are visible.
Yes, we are able to see this, okay?
Thank you very much, sister, for your kind introduction. And first of all, I'd like to thank the brothers and sisters at Pune SpARC local chapter for organizing this conference. And greetings to all the participants as well. So with that, let me start the topic. So I'll be discussing about yoga psychology. Why is it important to discuss this? You can understand from this graph. So in recent years, we have been noticing there is exponential increase in the number of people who practice yoga and meditation. And in the context of the current existing pandemic, I hope this would have still further increased the data which is yet to come. Maybe it will come later on. So with that context, just let me start with the classical definition for yoga. As you all know, yoga is nothing but that which joins. That is yujyate anena iti yoga. This is the definition from Vedic times, which many people refer to. So the joining here is between the individual self and the universal self. But people these days, they interpret this joining in different ways, like a connection between body and mind and breath, so many things. But in classical ways, the joining is always between individual self and the universal self. But later on, over a period of time, what has happened was the universal consciousness, as it is more intangible and invisible. Even for that matter, individual consciousness itself is an intangible thing, but it is still more than that. So to keep the definition very practical and realistic, they have narrowed down to the definition surrounding the individual self, which is what we see in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, Yoga Vasishta, and also in Bhagavad Gita. So Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha from Patanjali Yoga Sutra. In simple terms, this is nothing but managing the mind stuff. Let's forget about the terms Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha, all those things. For practical purpose, take it as mind management. And the second thing is Mana Prashamana Upayaha Yoga. This is from Yoga Vasishta, which means yoga is that which stills the mind. Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. This is another popular thing. Yoga is a state of equanimity. This is from Bhagavad Gita. And last one, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Yoga is an art of skillful action. So this is also from Bhagavad Gita. So the bottom line is, for practical purpose, it's all about managing the mind or the mental apparatus, we can say. And why people have narrowed down the definition towards the individual self? Yes, it makes a sense also. It is quite logical also. Let me give an example. For example, if there is an iron piece which is rusted, if you just even keep it in front of a magnet, it is not going to get attracted. But still the connection between the magnet and the iron piece still exists. Only thing is the rust has to be cleaned. That's it. So that is the logic upon which people have narrowed down the definition towards the individual self, keeping the universal self away, even though that is very relevant. So now let us just have a quick review about what yogic scripture talks about this mental apparatus. So in Indian scriptures or yogic scriptures, the whole entire universe, including the human beings, it's put in two different terms, very broad terms. One is matter and another thing is consciousness. So what I've shown here is only the matter. And it's very interesting to note, especially in the Indian Eastern perspective, that mind, intellect, memories, chitta, sanskara, whatever you call, all these things are actually called as matter, not a part of consciousness. So the entire thing, what I'm showing here is only matter. So consciousness is something away from this. So you can see here senses are an interface between the body or the world and the mind on the other side. Similarly, mind an interface between intellect and senses, and so on. Intellect also between mind and memories are sanskara. So this is just in a nutshell about what the yoga talks about this mental apparatus when we think in terms of yoga psychology. So just summarizing what we have seen in the previous slide in just a simple terms, it's about two things, as I was telling, consciousness and then matter. So one is consciousness, which I've shown here, just like kind of light, but you can conceptualize in any way that is comfortable to you. But predominantly people conceptualize that as light or a kind of divine energy. And on the other hand, I've just taken the body, which is in itself is a mini universe, we can say, matter. So how these two things interact is something very interesting. And in fact, to some extent, this is a topic of the previous talk also, which we heard about quantum consciousness. So in medical terms, if you see, there is no explanation how this non-physical thing interacts with this body, which is a physical thing. This is something very stupid also if you look in a very superficial way. It's like asking a physics teacher to teach a medical student in a medical college. We'll think that, yes, it is very foolish. They cannot teach. There cannot be an interaction. But in fact, in a human body, it happens this way. Consciousness, which is non-physical, interacts with the physical matter. And the only plausible explanation how it could happen is the quantum consciousness-based explanation, which many of you might be aware about this Young's double slit experiment. So which I'm not going to touch upon. So in this interaction, what happens? Somehow it interacts. Let us take it for granted. And in this interaction, in psychological terms, what happens is there is something called as a new term which arises, ahamkara. And if you look into the Indian philosophy or the yogic scriptures, this ahamkara or ego, very roughly translated in English, is not talked about in negative connotation, of course. What this means is, for this spiritual being or a non-physical being to work with this body in a same way in the context of a society, there has to be a little bit of ownership towards this matter for this consciousness. And that is what Indian scripture talks as ahamkar. Aham means I, and kar means karma, the doership. And in psychological terms, they talk this as a self for the boundary or ego boundary, many different ways of ownership, sense of agency, different kinds of things. But in spiritual terms or in yogic terms, this connection, which is very subtle, of course, in this, there is a lot of contribution from mind, intellect, memories, all those things, but it is being worked by this consciousness, and the consciousness through the mind, intellect, and sanskars connects with this body, of course. And in that connection, in a functional way, this ahamkara is actually defined, or the self or the boundary is defined. In a way, if you see, this self or the boundary is very, very important for us to function in a sane way in this society. Otherwise, we would be like just a small child, very innocent, but very beautiful, but not in a very mature way to carry out our daily activities. So in medical terms, if I want to explain, in one way, if you see this sense of ahamkara or the self or the boundary or the ego boundary, if it is completely nil, you may end up having a problem like psychosis or schizophrenia, which is very detrimental. On the other hand, the more and more stronger it becomes, you will end up in problems like, let's say, heart attack and those kinds of type A personality disorders. So this is something very crucial to understand. We need some connection, but of course, the connection has to be within our control. And that connection in spiritual terms, people talk in many different terms like dehban, icha, or the sense of some goodness inside. So these are something minimally required, of course, for sure, to work in a sane way in the society. But if we just leave it unchecked, then we will end up in problem. So yogic psychology is more focused on how we can interact, how the consciousness can interact with this body so that there is a meaningful life in this society, because life is always understood in the context of body. Without body, just consciousness alone, we may not be able to define life itself. So how it can connect, but at the same time, maintain a sense of equanimity, I would say. So you connect, but at the same time, you disconnect whenever it is required for you so that you can refresh yourself. So how yoga works out on this, and in case if we do not work on these lines, as I told, either we may end up becoming like a small child, completely immature, or a kind of psychotic person, or if you're taking the ownership for everything, too much of responsibility kind of thing, a burden kind of thing, then we'll end up in physical diseases like heart problems, which you're facing these days rampantly. And in fact, on those lines, a kind of equanimous attitude where you associate with yourself, but at the same time, you can also detach yourself so that you can execute things with a proper context in the society also. So people in research, they are also trying to explore this concept. And this is one of the recent research which in fact substantiate this. Please do not look at the graphs. The graphs which I've shown here, the research methods are quite intensive. Just look at the title. So what it tells is, it talks about meditation practices, it weakens the attachment to the self. So what they have basically conveyed in this experiment is, people who are interested, you can read this paper which is available. It is a published paper. So what this paper mainly conveys, the message is, people who are practicing meditation, they associate with themselves, or they associate with the self without getting bound or without getting attached to the self. What this basically means is, you, going back to the previous slide, so you stabilize your awareness in this consciousness, but at the same time you connect with the outer world. Outer world, I mean, here includes even the person's own body also, where this consciousness resides. So this is what actually this paper is trying to explain. In fact, this sort of studies are at its very preliminary stage. People are trying to explore this concept, but it is still in its infancy. So the main message from this slide is, meditation or related mind-body practices helps enable people to associate with the self or the consciousness, but at the same time, it also promotes a kind of a detached execution of activities with the body or its belongingness, whatever you call. So at the core, what is yoga psychology is, it's all about effacement or thinning of this ego or this ahankara. So how much minimum you can keep so that you can function in a proper way in the context of a society without getting entangled into the problem. Okay. So this is all about the core of the yoga psychology. In case if we leave this connection unchecked, what happens? This is very clearly explained in Bhagavad Gita. So what I have mentioned here down is actually from Bhagavad Gita. So this sense of minimal amount of ahankara or this ownership towards the belongingness, including the body, if it is left unchecked, what happens is that leads to attachment, attachment leading to desire, and desire, if it is not fulfilled, leading to anger, and anger, if it is left uncontrolled, leading to delusion, leading to loss of memory and destruction of intellect, and finally, destruction of the whole life itself. So the entire yoga psychology at the core is built on this main understanding, this main philosophy. You interact with the body and its belongingness, but try to keep it at the minimal level so that you always stabilize here, but carry out the activities here. So that is more of a philosophy. So coming to the practical aspects, can we have something to carry out or to execute those philosophies in the form of action, in the name of yoga, meditation, whatever it is? So what are the different tools that is available? As I've told previously in Indian scriptures, everything is just only consciousness and matter, nothing else. And now leaving the consciousness, all that we have in front of us is matter. Why I'm leaving the consciousness aside is, consciousness is something like our back. You can only say that I have a back, but if I ask you, can you see your back? You would say, no, I cannot see. So exploring the consciousness is something like that. But in fact, we are supposed to explore, and the tools that is available for us is, one is the body, another thing is breath, and the remaining things are the mental apparatus, which includes the mind, intellect, and the memories, which I've shown previously. So this is in yogic terms. The equivalent terms in terms of psychology, if you want to compare, is if it is something to do with either body or breath, in a physical gross terms, in the name of asanas or pranayamas, you may call it as a behavior or an action. Or if it is something to do with the mental apparatus, with mind, intellect, or memories, it is either going to be thoughts or emotions. And in fact, it can be expanded into so many things like images. And again, within that, auditory imagery and then visual imagery, so many things. But in a nutshell, it could be either thoughts, feelings, and emotions, or action. Which is what talked about in psychology terms as cognition, affect, and behavior. So the tools the psychology or yoga uses is body, breath, and then mental apparatus. So what are all the different things that are very commonly used? Why I have chosen especially these three things, asana, pranayama, and meditation, is, as I told in the very second slide, the whole world is trying to explore.
Quick time check, please.
Yeah.
If we are able to, maybe a quickly 1 or 2 minutes, please.
Sure. So what is the context in which this physical exercise or asana is kept is? It's very simple. Asana, as it is translated in English, it is nothing but posture. When we say posture, it is a being still. So what happens is, say, for example, when we look people who are depressed or who are very happy, each and everyone has a specific physical attitude. So this physical attitude is actually a reflection of the mental attitude. So if the mental attitude can decide the physical posture, can the physical posture decide or influence the mental attitude? Yes, of course, yoga practices says it is possible. And that is the simple logic upon which the practice of asana is kept. And in fact, when I say asana, not the many different kinds of asanas which are all talked about, it's just maintaining a calm, comfortable pose as long as you want. And one thing which is important note is in the entire Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there is not even a single named asana. So that's very important. Asana is always considered in the context of, in fact, meditation. So coming to the next practice, that is breathing. So breathing practices, yes, deep breathing, slow breathing, it's a different thing, which is actually not considered as pranayama. So in fact, deep breathing itself has a profound effect on emotion, no doubt, which is what is shown in the left-hand side. But on the contrary, what pranayama is about is it's all about holding the breath, and again holding the breath in a comfortable way. So comfortable way, I mean training it properly, gradually, very slowly. So what happens when someone holds the breath? There is increased buildup of carbon dioxide, and this increased buildup of carbon dioxide drives people or the brain centers to exhale faster. But we are slowly giving training to a brain. Yes, sit quietly for some more time within your limits. So in this gradual training process, what happens? The increased buildup of carbon dioxide, we're able to learn to maintain that, but still work efficiently. In medical terms also, there is a little bit of buildup of carbon dioxide has a calming effect in brain also, which is in fact used in epilepsy also as a kind of calming down the stimulated mind. So the third aspect related to mental exercise or meditation, what yoga talks is about concentration on a particular thing, and then effortless concentration on a particular thing, which is explained as dhyana, and the last one is a samadhi. What this basically means is this is very important to understand the context of a beginner who is practicing meditation. Initially, when we practice, we would be just creating only thoughts, which means that we are just diverting attention. That itself has some effect, no doubt. And the second part is when it becomes a little effortless, apart from your thoughts, your affect, your emotion also gets added, you start feeling, and there is a connection between you and the object which you focus. And the object here can be anything external or can be internal, like a beautiful thought, like I'm at peace or I'm a peaceful being. And as you practice, as you progress in this thing, finally you become that what you're thinking about itself. For example, if you're taking peace itself, thought about peace itself as an object, then you reach that state of peace itself, which is called as samadhi or swarupa, we can say. And this is what exactly the modern science also talks about. You can see here, this is from one of the very prestigious journal, Nature Neuroscience. The 3 states which is mentioned is roughly equivalent to all the 3 things which are mentioned at the bottom. And the first stage is something related to attention control. Second is something related to emotion regulation. And the last one is about self-awareness. So this is my last slide. I'll just finish it in 1 minute. So if you look yoga, it is a comprehensive thing where you need to sit at least quietly for some time. And of course, you need to take care of your emotions also, which is expressed in the form of your breath, whether you practice meditation or something else, doesn't matter. But most importantly, these days, what people do is they either focus more physically or they just ignore the physical thing and they focus completely only mentally, and they end up in different kinds of problems also. So you see problems on both the sides. For example, people who are focusing more physically, they don't even dive into the deeper aspects. But as they develop power over a period of time, longer time, what happens is they at one point of time explore the subconscious and the unconscious, which has a lot of things, negative ways, so many things, and they find it difficult to face all those things which are submerged very deep in the unconscious and subconscious. One of the best examples which I would like to quote here is people who are entering into the intense vipassana or some kind of meditation practices, going immediately for an intense meditation, they come up with something called a spiritual psychosis or kundalini psychosis. And the concept is what I've shown here on the right hand side. So in this context, it is very important to understand there has to be an intense practice in terms of cultivating values, which is very, very important aspect of yoga. That is why all the yogic scriptures, they talk about values in the name of yamas. Even for example, you take Jainism, Buddhism, or Patanjali Yoga Sutras or Bhagavad Gita, what is kept at the beginning is yamas and niyamas. In fact, the same yamas and niyamas you see what is in Patanjali Yoga Sutra exactly in the same way in Jainism also. So a lot of qualities, they appear across different traditions of meditation. Unless one practices these things, the yoga practices will not be really complete. Either they may land up in some problem and finding it difficult to face it and cross those problems, or else they would be lying at a very superficial level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rama Jayamji. A real enlightening, talk, sharing with all of us. And I'm sure we all enjoyed it. Really, the consciousness, right, which is non-physical, and how does it interact with my physical body, with the matter, and how the interaction becomes much more meaningful when we do a bit of mental exercises, mindfulness meditation, and this ultimately helps me enhance my quality of life by thinning my ego. And I think a good correlation, with the Bhagavad Gita. So a big thank you, Rama Jayamji. I'm sure we have benefited, and I'm sure we have made up our mind, right? Spirituality is the way to go. And if we want to enhance our quality of life, it is for us to embrace spirituality as my way of life. So a big thank you to you.
So any questions?
Quick round for questions, please, if any. Okay, if not, then a big thank you, Rama Jayamji. Thank you for all your time, all your support, enlightening us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So today, I'm sure, right, we were able to talk about various subjects through that day. So we talked about, sleep management, sleep research findings. Then we talked about Rajyoga meditation. We talked about effects of Rajyoga, right, on the psychological and functional outcomes. And then we also, did a bit of mindfulness meditation to experience some peace within my own self and be a bit of relaxed state of mind. And that's where it brought us to some of the breathing exercises, and with some of the scientific researches, we were able to see how breathing exercises impacts my heart rate and overall enhances my quality of life. And then we talked about my consciousness, quantum consciousness, and towards the end related this with my physical body, with the matter through yoga psychology topic. And we figured out how by enhancing my own consciousness, right, by enhancing the energy within my own self, I am able to drive the matter, that is my body, and ultimately my thoughts, my actions, my words, my interaction with people, relationships with people, and the outer world around me, it starts changing for better. I start to see some of the excellence around me. And hence, if I want to have an enhanced life, a peaceful life, a happy life, a quality life, it is important I start building, I start enhancing my consciousness, spirituality within me. And we just talked about some of the techniques, tools and techniques that will help us do this. So with this, I'm really thankful to all the eminent researchers, scientists, Raj Yoga practitioners, for participating, sparing their valuable time. So a big thank you to Dr. P. and Navindra, Ravindra, B.K. Ekta Chalagiri, Rinkesh Kurkure, Adarsh A, Dr. Ramajayam Ji for sparing their valuable time and enlightening us with their researches. And I'm sure this will go a long way. I'm sure we are now convinced that if we want to enhance our life, if we want to see excellence in my life, peace, prosperity, happiness in my life, I'm sure, spirituality is the way. And we all are going to start embracing spirituality and moving one step further in spirituality, enhancing my life. So this was our first session of the second day of our SpARC conference. The topic is role of spirituality for building inner resilience and excellence. And the second half today, the topic is ancient solutions for modern crisis. Again, we will have eminent researchers talking to us, Rajyogi teachers, seniors talking to us in the second half at 4 p.m. So please, be with us, join us again at 4 p.m. through 6:15 p.m. the afternoon session. And before we take this break, it's time for a quick healing through a a beautiful song. So I would request you all to please, sit quiet, sit relaxed, 2 to 3 minutes. We'll have beautiful song and let's feel relaxed, feel peaceful, and let's enjoy this song. Thank you.
याद कीजिए, पल पल प्रभु को प्यार से याद कीजिए, दिल में ही दिल की उससे यूं बात कीजिए, पल पल प्रभु को प्यार से याद कीजिए, पल पल प्रभु को प्यार से याद कीजिए। एक बूंद प्यार को है प्यासा जगत ये सारा, एक बूंद प्यार को है प्यासा जगत ये सारा, वो प्यार का है सागर प्यारा पिता हमारा, प्यासे दिलों पे प्यार की बरसात कीजिए, प्यासे दिलों पे प्यार की बरसात कीजिए, दिल में ही दिल की उससे यूं बात कीजिए, पल पल प्रभु को प्यार से याद कीजिए, पल पल प्रभु को प्यार से याद कीजिए।
Thank you everyone for your valuable time. I'm sure we found this session useful. So see you back at 4 p.m., the afternoon session. And until then,